I know that you are currently in the accelerator, working through, studying, doing all this stuff. I just wanted to share your experiences with the Evaporating Data Dump with the people that are watching this going through the accelerator. So why don't you just say hello and then tell us about the Evaporating Data Dump that you're using and how it's helping you, and kind of talk me through that if you don't mind, please.
Sure. Okay, so I'm Kait Kenner. I'm currently actually a project manager, and I'm studying to take my PMP soon. And one of the things that I really liked about this accelerated program and about Scott's method is the evaporating data dump. So we hear a lot when you go into like studying for the PMP that people talk about this data dump, and some people use it differently. But what I like best about Scott's approach is that you have your data dump like already pre-filled out almost as you're like going through the accelerated program. You start to like write down what you're struggling with, what you don't understand, watch more of the videos, go back and study that. And then as you start taking the questions and going through the videos and talking out loud to whoever you're talking with, you start to realize that you're saying those things that are on your data dump. And so then you start to cross them out. So Scott actually wanted an example, but here's my data dump. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, just kind of like hold it still so we can see it. It'll
yep.
focus. Oh, so you got Ishikawa, you got quality stuff on there. You got motivational theories. You can just cross out those motivational theories. You don't even need to look at them. But okay, so that's what it looks like for you. And I see it's on a 3-ring binder, so you're whatever. So talk me through how you developed it, how you're using it, stuff like that.
Yep. So I just start as I'm watching the videos or doing the studying afterwards. I'm writing down like what I'm not getting. So one of the things was like in scope, there's gold plating and there's scope creep. You know, sometimes you can almost like interchange those, but they're not the same thing. Gold plating is something completely different from scope creep, and it's more team initiated, trying to improve the project versus things that just kind of come along the way that are sometimes unforeseen. So trying to understand those two different aspects and those two different avenues, I wrote that down in my data dump, and I just took a couple questions last night on scope creep, and a bunch of those like gold plating and scope creep and things like that kept coming up, and I was like, oh, that's team, oh, that's this. Oh. So once you start to like answer the questions and you really like your mind is going, that's gold plating, that's for sure gold plating because the team is doing this update outside of the scope. Beautiful. Then you start to go through and you cross out because you know it. I mean, you're going through the questions and you know it, because I don't have my data dump sitting next to me while I'm going through the questions. So that really solidifies that like you know the process. The other thing I do is day to day as I'm going through the accelerated videos, I change my pen color.
Oh.
Because based off of the day that you're going through and things like that, and I have an example here.
Oh, you just went from red to purple.
Yep, and there's a couple on there.
Go to the side a little bit. Come a little bit to the side.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We're good. All right, go.
So I sat in Wednesday night's call with Scott and a whole bunch of other people. We were going through questions, and I actually had a different color pen as we were going through questions about things that I was like, I'm not too familiar, or I don't have the affinity diagram down. So wrote that down. But I'm doing different colors to kind of keep my mind, you know, when you start to see the same color on paper, you kind of start to zone out almost as you're studying through and going through. So that's something that's been helpful for me because it kind of keeps my mind active in terms of like,
love it. This
was on a different day and this is what we were learning on that day. And then this was on day 3 and we were learning about this. And so it's a different color. So
I love it. All right. So you're using it, you're identifying things, you're crossing out. I see that there were some things that weren't crossed out. Are you stressed by that, or how are you dealing with the things that aren't crossed out?
Yeah. So in all honesty, like when I broke it down and went through like a lot of the stuff that I was just starting to write, and it wasn't even like from memory. I just knew like these were areas that I really struggle with, and I may not have reached that point in the acceleration program yet, but I knew that I was having difficulty understanding them as I was going through questions previously. So I'd write those down anyways. I don't know, like I actually feel like less stressed since starting this process.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
So this is cool. We're getting like an extra bonus here. What day of the process are you right now?
I'm on day 3. I haven't started the day 3 aspects, but I finished up day 1. I finished up day 2. I'm on day 3, which I'll probably go through all the videos tomorrow.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. So you said less stressed.
Yeah.
Why? How? Give me some details. Like, what? First of all, let's frame up. You have a. You don't have to go into your background. You have a great background. Good project manager, smart, all that stuff. We know it. What was you were stressed beforehand? Talk to me a little bit about how you're feeling.
So before I started the program with you, I had taken 3 practice exams and had gotten the same result every single practice exam, even though I went back and studied the material and I studied where the practice exams were telling me that I wasn't doing well in or needed improvement. And it was frustrating because I'd go back and study those areas, but I'd still be scoring the same score every time. And it was just like, all right, there's something not clicking. And I think that when I stepped back and started thinking about the PMP logically,
there you go.
It made a lot more sense because all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. These are all the plans. So we take planning like, all right, there's the scope plan, the schedule plan, the communications plan. Those are all the plans. All right, that's the how we're going to address all of these things. And then we go right into like the other sections that create all of that. And it was just like, oh, it's like the light bulb clicked. I don't know.
Nice. All right, so now you're in it. You're excited. You haven't gotten to flows and stuff yet, which is just coming up. So that'll be really helpful. That'll double light bulb you.
Yeah.
That's cool. So one more thing. Now anything else to close out on this evaporating data dump? Like they're going in, they're starting it, they're using the different pins, they're crossing things out, they're not getting stressed if they don't have it in there. What is something you want to tell people to like finish out in about this evaporating data dump that will help them out? Anything?
So one of the things that I really have come to find in myself, and that's something that I think a lot of people struggle with, is they will go through the process of studying and they'll be like, oh, I know this. But the actual act of crossing something out, it really, I don't know what it does, but in my mind, it's literally like, you have this. You don't need to, like, you may go back and just kind of like quick review, make sure like, yeah, I totally know what the goal plating is, or I totally know what control charts, the rule of 7 is, and things like that. But once you like have that and you cross it out, like, you're good. Like you got to trust yourself, and you got to trust that as you're going through those questions and you're pinpointing those, yep, totally know that this is expert judgment because it has this section of the question. I think there was a question about like skill sets or something like that in the question. It was completely like expert judgment. You know it. And so trust that you know it.
Beautiful. That is awesome. Well, Kait, I'm very, very proud of you. You're not even halfway through, but I already know what the answer, I already know the end of this story. I already know that you're going to pass. I already know that you're going to do well. Don't stop. But like, I already know what your score is. You don't know what your score is yet. I already know what it is. So I'll tell you later what you get, but it's going to be passing. And so keep going forward. Really appreciate it. I think you're helping a lot of people because they're in the same spot that you are right now, but it's in the future or the past. I don't know. They're doing it right now. Okay. Yeah. So the evaporating data dump, really helpful. I appreciate your insights. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate it.
Cool.